My first painting is entitled Childhood Memories, Big Mama House. It's about my upbringing in Opelika, Alabama. I remember how we used to travel up to my grandparents' house on my father's side to stay up there and enjoy the country life. As you see, it's showing me with my sibling and cousins playing hopscotch in the dirt, and my cousin chopping wood, my grandmother on the porch watching us play hopscotch. Forgive me for this kind of blurred painting, photo of the painting. It's the only one that I have because I sold the painting back in the early 1990s, so I have no access to do another Photoshop of the painting. But I decided to put it in because of my love of growing up as a child, going up to my grandparents' house, enjoying myself. Now, even though I enjoyed going up to my grandparents' house, but there's a dark side, a very turbulent side to the United States of America. For a long time, I always wondered why we were always despised and hated in America, even though there has been a first African-American president in this country. Things are getting worse because of fear. I always wonder why this fear? This fear is because of so many years, hundreds of years of miseducating descendants of Africans and miseducating many Africans themselves. In this country for a long time, it was a capital punishment for us to learn how to read and write. And I always wonder why. Why were they trying to wash away from our memory? Eventually, I learned why. But at the same time, as you see in this piece, as I gave it the title of Pasture of Nightmares, it is about how so many of us have been miseducated, especially young African American boys. I know that young African American girls face a lot as well, but I feel that we face more scrutiny than anyone else. So why this fear? Why have so many of us fallen by the wayside, falsely imprisoned for little minor infractions? So this piece is about us being mentally put into a pasture of ignorance. But we can overcome this ignorance by pushing for the truth about who we are as descendants of Africans, because Africans have a long, rich heritage around the world for thousands of years. The title of this piece is Ancient Rhythms in America. I once participated in a festivity called African Street Festival in Brooklyn, New York, when I worked for Nile Valley Enterprises. And as I was walking around, looking at all of the activities, I heard the sound of African drums. So I went and searched to find where these sounds were coming from, and I came across this scenery. And I took a snapshot of it and created a painting from this scenery. The title of this painting is Big Daddy. This is my grandfather, Claude Calloway. As he was sitting in his wheelchair, gazing out, looking at the scenery in the window, I took a snapshot of him as he gazed out the window. I wanted to capture the essence of his tranquility of the peace that he was feeling at that time. The next piece is called Divided Nation 3. This is the third painting of 3 pieces that I created based on this theme. The first one was piece I created was a graphite and pen and ink drawing that was no more than perhaps 12 by 12 inches. And you notice I put a white rose and basically a black rose with purple in it to represent royalty. The white rose represent European Americans, and the black rose represent African Americans. Because this country really has been divided from the beginning. The next piece is called African Street Festival, Brooklyn, New York. When I was sitting on these benches, because the festival was in the field of a track field, and as I was sitting on the benches, it dawned on me that wow, they will make a very nice panoramic view. So I took snapshots as starting from my right, and I worked my way down taking snapshots of the scenery, and I take them together and came up with this panoramic view of this festival. The title of this piece here is called Essential Beauty. I took this snapshot in Tugelo, Mississippi, when I participated in the Tugelo Art Colony back in the late 1990s. This piece is a serigraph. It has approximately 40 colors. The title of this piece here is Mr. Tucker. I used to travel. When I lived in Tallahassee, Florida, there was a road that I used to travel to go to graduate school over at Florida State University, or sometime I would travel up to Florida A&M. And on this road there was this house, a unique house. I loved the setting in front of the house, and I used to see this elderly couple out in the front yard sitting on the porch all the time. So I decided to stop and ask them if I could take some photographs of them, and they said yes. This piece is entitled Blues Guitarist. I took a picture of him in Memphis, Tennessee, when I took my mother up to see her son, Edward. He took us down to Beale Street, or Beale Street, however you call it. And I took photos of these gentlemen playing the blues. So this is one of the pieces that I created from my travel to Memphis, Tennessee. This is another piece that I created from a series of paintings from my experience going up to the African Street Festival in Brooklyn, New York. The title of this piece is Marketplace, and it's a very large piece. It's 4 by 6 feet. The title of this piece is Middle Passage to the Civil Rights Movement. I participated in an exhibition that was given by Alabama State University's museum called African American Heritage and Civil Rights Museum. They had a particular type of theme show that they wanted artists to participate in, and this is the piece that I created for it. And as you see, I have a lot going on in this piece. You see down at the bottom, you see where I show where we were being forced to go to those demonic castles that was on the coast of Africa, west coast of Africa. But you see where I have in the background showing what we were before our enslavement. I have an image of the first pharaoh of Egypt. Really, it was never called Egypt. That's a Greek word. It was called and country. The land was called Kemet, which means black community. And you see where I have other pharaohs, and I have images of other black people showing what we were before our enslavement. But you see down at the bottom, you see where I show where we are basically in the slave ships, inside of the bowels of Satan slave ships on the horrifying voyage to the Americas. But we all know now that Africans have been traveling the ocean coming to America for thousands of years. The pyramids in the Americas proves that. And you see at the bottom I have like a bridge with these a symbol of the African columns, where this bridge is showing that the foundation of where we came from and what we are now here in America, the struggles that we had to go through to overcome the evil atrocities of this nation inflicted upon dark brown and black people in this land. This piece here is called Teenage Farmer. It's basically two photographs put in one. The young farmer, I took a picture of him also in Brooklyn, New York. But at the same time, when I came to started teaching at Fort Valley State University, I would go out and take snapshots of landscape sceneries. So I didn't want the festivity scenery behind this young man. So I took one of the photos that I took of a pecan orchard and put it in the background and called it Teenage Farmer. So this is more of a naturalistic image than a realistic image. The title of this piece here is Family Reunion 2. The first piece that I created of this was a serigraph back in the late 1990s. But I was really never satisfied with that serigraph. So I decided years later to create the piece in a graphite and pen and ink drawing. It's about my family reunion. As you see the design on their t-shirts, that's one of my designs that I created because I used to be a graphic designer. This piece here is entitled Craftswoman Creating a Flower in Savannah, Georgia. Once in a while, I'll take the students down to see the graduate school or down to Savannah to see museums and galleries, and also go over to Savannah College of Art and Design to look at their graduate program. And we were in the park one day, and this African American young lady, elderly lady, was middle-aged, was making flowers out of a particular kind of weed, kind of plant that would grow, and she would make the unique flowers while they were still green, and she would sell them to make a living from making these flowers. So this piece is created in color pencil and pen and ink. This piece is called From Antiquity to HBCUs. This piece is dedicated to Alabama State University. Alabama State, when they were celebrating their 150th anniversary of being in existence, I created this piece to participate in it because I am an alumnus of Alabama State. And you see down at the bottom, you see where I'm showing the inside of a slave ship, and but in the center, down at the bottom, you see where I put images of various images of our ancestors who did great things, where they contributed to civilization, but because without their foundation, there would not be a civilization the way it is today. Then you see in the middle section, you see where I show how we had been enslaved and working out in the cotton field, and the other structures are structures that are symbolic to Alabama State University, and where it got its humble beginnings. And then at the top, you see where I have us marching during the civil rights movement. And then at the top portion, that is the Levi Watkins Library. This is pieces in dedication to Alabama State, where basically all of your HBCUs are continuing that fight to educate African Americans. Even though there are others who come, but most of your HBCUs are most likely about 90% African American. I hope you all enjoyed this slideshow. Thank you.